He looked normal enough when he came in that morning. Tall, skinny, balding, and clean-shaven. He was black, late 60s, and his skin had a slight gray cast, as if he'd been left out in the sun. I was working the register when he walked up with his adult son. He placed some clothes on the counter, neither of them saying a word. I smiled. "That all for you?" I asked as I began scanning the items. He picked up a pointed finger. It shook slightly, and then he spoke. It sounded like he was choking, wet, garbled. It was like he was speaking underwater. I blinked. "Oh, sorry, what was that?" I asked, leaning in instinctively to try to catch it. He jabbed a finger towards one of the shirts. He tried to clear his throat, but it didn't make a difference. I caught a whiff of his breath. It smelled like something rotting was stuck under his tongue. I assume he repeated himself, but honestly, I couldn't tell you. I glare at his son, silently asking for help, but he offers none. Slack-jawed and eyes glazed over. I look back helplessly at the father. "I'm sorry, Then he raised his voice. It happened in slow motion. I saw the spit fly from his mouth, like a heavy hot jelly in zero gravity. There was nothing I could do as it landed with a plop squarely on my lips. It had a yellowish tinge, like snot from a sinus infection, mucus thick. I could feel it sitting on my lip, clinging like egg white. Warm with just the faintest metallic smell underneath. Salt and something else, something sickly, like the breath of someone who's been coughing for weeks. I recoiled, gagging silently, and wiped it off with the back of my hand. It didn't smear. It stretched. A string of it hung between my face and my fingers for a second before snapping. Finally, the son spoke, flat, unbothered. "He wants to keep the hangers." "Oh, yeah, that's fine," I mumbled, smearing the slime onto my pants just to be rid of it. I scanned the rest of the clothes as quickly as I could as bile rose in my throat. They gave no apology, paid like nothing happened, left like nothing was wrong. I hate customer service. By closing time, as I locked the door to the store, my body felt off. My muscles ached, but not in the usual way. There was a kind of deep, pulsing exhaustion under my skin. My joints popped when I moved, every step like wading through invisible syrup. I chalked it up to stress, or maybe disgust and fatigue. The image of that man's spit landing on my lip kept replaying in my mind. Yellow, thick, sticky. My stomach twisted every time I thought about it. About halfway through the parking lot, I broke into a cold sweat. It came on fast. A wave of heat bloomed across my back, then drenched my chest like someone had poured water down my shirt. I stopped walking, hands on my knees, gasping like I'd just sprinted. I'd never felt sick this fast before. Sickness is supposed to build. A scratchy throat in the morning, heaviness by lunch, maybe a fever the next day. This felt like someone had flipped a switch. My skin was clammy. My head spun. I could feel something collecting at the back of my throat. Not phlegm, but weight. A sensation like I was slowly swallowing something that wasn't going down. I told myself it was just the start of a flu. Bad timing. Gross day. My brain was making it worse because I couldn't stop thinking about that man's voice. That garbled drowning sound. Like he'd been speaking through a mouthful of wet towels. I got in the car and sat there for a while, gripping the wheel and staring straight ahead. My reflection in the rearview mirror looked pale, a little sweaty. Bags were forming under my eyes. And for a second, I swore they looked shiny, like puddles. I blinked hard, shook my head, started the engine. It was probably just a fever coming on. Probably. By the time I got home, my throat felt thick, scratchy, like I'd swallowed dust and it hadn't settled yet. I kept swallowing, trying to clear it, but it only made the feeling worse. My head was starting to pound, just a dull, constant pressure behind my eyes. The kind of headache that makes the inside of your skull feel swollen. I checked my temperature. Normal. Yet, I could feel the heat gathering in my skin. That dry kind of fever that isn't high enough to call out sick, but just enough to make everything wrong. The lights in my apartment looked a little off, like they were stretching in diagonals. The floor felt as if it shifted slightly when I walked. Not really, but enough to make me pause and hold on to the wall scots. I drank some water. It tasted weird, like the aftertaste of metal, like when you lick a battery by mistake. I peeled off my work clothes and saw that my skin was shiny. Not sweaty, just a little too reflective, like oil had settled into the pores. I touched my stomach. It felt kind of warm and tender, almost bloated. I went to bed early, thinking maybe I'd caught the flu. Maybe from someone else, or maybe from that dude. His cough, or whatever the heck that was. My lips still felt like there was residue from where the spit had landed. Even after 2 showers. Even after I scrubbed the skin. I couldn't stop thinking about the way it stretched, how warm it was, how it had lingered, how the color reminded me of McDonald's honey mustard. I fell asleep with the heat behind my eyes, like my brain was trying to boil itself out of my skull. Then, the dream started. At first, I think I'm floating, but it's not water. Not really, it's too warm. Too much like watered down pudding. That same sick weight of that spit. My skin tingles where it touches me, as if the liquid itself is reacting to me, tasting me, digesting me. The air is acrid, like stale bile. I try to move, but I have no weight. My arms drift. My legs feel miles away. There's no up or down, no air, no pressure, just endless, vicious suspension. Nothing moves above me, nothing below. I'm alone in it. Until something brushes my foot. It's not a full touch, just the faintest shift of current, a pressure that slides against my ankle, like a tail or a limb passing by. The fluid ripples in waves that don't quite reach me, like whatever moved it is too big to see it all at once. I seize up and then I start to sink. Slowly at first, a lazy descent, like the liquid has decided to reclaim me. The buoyancy is gone. I try to kick, to swim, but my muscles feel slow. My arms slice through the fluid like they're cutting molasses. I go under. Not that there's really a surface to begin with, but I feel the downward pull. The deeper I go, the thicker it becomes. It's turning into mucus. I can feel it dragging across my skin. My eyes sting, burn, and then it's in them. I can't see. Everything is blurred and gold-tinged, like a bad case of pink eye. I open my mouth to scream. That's my mistake. The fluid pours in. It's not water, it's like it's alive. It slides down my throat in clumps, hot and sweet and sour. It's like swallowing egg yolk, raw oysters, and glue all at once. It fills my mouth, coats my tongue, rushes into my lungs in great greedy gulps. I start coughing, gagging, choking. But I don't suffocate. My lungs expand anyway. They take it. They accept it. The mucus doesn't stop at my chest, it fills my stomach too. I can feel the weight of it pressing outward, distending me from the inside. It sloshes when I move. It wants to be inside me. I should be dying. I know I should. But instead, I just float there, heavy with it, watching the darkness throb around me. Something far away sings, and I know it's coming for me. Then I wake up. The first thing I notice is my eyes are blurry. When I try to rub them, I can feel the mucus coming from them. Screw this. It must be one bad fucking sinus infection. Then I feel a slight breeze on my arms and I realize the bed is soaked. My head still pounds as I sit up, my body groaning in protest. And for a moment, I think it's sweat. I think that the fever broke. But I notice it smells like salt and blood and spit and the ocean. I go to the bathroom to take a look at the damage. My eyes are red and raw, with strands of greenish mucus connecting my upper and lower eyelids like gross little pillars. My face is red, splotchy, and hot. My hair clings to my face, still damp from the night sweats. My face looks swollen. I look like shit. So I call off work. My voice sounded rough, phlegmy and tight, like I'd spent the whole night crying into humidifier or something. Which wasn't far off. My throat ached, but not like from soreness. It felt coated, like something soft and thick was clinging to the lining of my esophagus. I told my manager I had a fever. He didn't ask questions. He just told me to rest up and bring a doctor's note if it lasted more than a couple of days. So I decided to go to urgent care. The walk-in clinic was freezing, overlit, and smelled faintly of bleach and latex gloves. I felt like a wet ghost in a hoodie. Too heavy in my bones, my eyes struggling to stay open. My skin felt all wrong, malleable, like it would slide off if I rubbed it too hard. The doctor barely looked at me. He poked and swabbed my throat, asked me to breathe, looked into my ears, noted my eyes, and tapped on his tablet. "Well," he said, tugging off his gloves, "it's probably a sinus infection. Judging by the pink eye, it could be flu adjacent. We've seen a weird strain this month." "What about the..." I hesitated. "The fluid in my lungs, it's coming out of me everywhere. I've never been this sick before." He smiled politely, completely unfazed. "Postnasal drip. Mucus builds up and settles there. You'd be surprised how much gunk your body produces. The dream thing and waking up in a sweat, it's probably just the fever." He handed me a prescription for antibiotics and eye drops. Told me to hydrate and rest. Maybe take some Dayquil and Mucinex if the coughing got worse. I nodded and thanked him, even though I wanted to peel off my skin and scream. By sunset, I was coughing. At first it was shallow, dry, but then it started coming up. Thick, warm mucus. Not like the kind you spit into a tissue during a cold. This was slicker, greener, almost yellow-brown, with the little bubbles inside it that it tastes like brine. It didn't stick to the tissue, it slid off. I began coughing so hard I could feel piss slip out. I gagged and felt something rise up my throat. A strand. Long. Slippery. Like pulling melted string cheese out of a drain? I stared at it in my sink afterward. I googled it and thought it might be a cast, but it wasn't smooth. It looked like patterns on coral. My chest ached after, like I'd been pushing out more than just mucus, like something was fighting back. I took the antibiotics, the eye drops, Dayquil, NyQuil, and Mucinex, just in case. I wasn't really hungry, I just slept off and on all day, never feeling any better really. By night, I had another dream. This time I was inside something. It pulses around me wet and close like warm flesh. I can feel the walls of it ripple when I move. It isn't tight, not yet, but I can feel it watching me. The sack, the thing that holds me, it knows I'm here. My body is suspended in a thick, viscous fluid. It smells of iron and salt and something sweet, like rotted fruit that has just begun to ferment. My stomach hurts. I can't stretch my limbs, they're folded against me. My knees press to my chest, my arms are crossed, fingertips brushing slick membrane. I try to move and the walls respond, shuddering, not with pressure but pleasure, like it likes when I squirm. The sack around me is alive. I can feel it tightening just slightly, then again, rhythmic, a flex, a contraction. It's practicing. Then I hear it, a sound from outside. Not a voice, a tap. A wet tap 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 like fingers on rubber. Something touches the sack. It doesn't try to open it or tear through it, it just tests it. Feels the shape of me inside. And then it wraps around me. Something big, long, boneless, and smooth. I feel it slide along the outer membrane, spiraling. It begins to tighten. The whole sack compresses inward. Not enough to crush me, but enough to hold me in place. The fluid rises. It gets into my mouth, my nose. I try to breathe. It fills my throat. It tastes like dirty pennies soaked in brine. I swallow by reflex and it goes deep into my lungs, my stomach, my sinuses. I can feel it curling inside me. The womb contracts again, tighter. My ribs start to ache. I should be drowning, but instead I start to hum. The pitch is low, like whale song, but it's me. Then I feel something else move. Not outside, inside the sack with me. The membrane closes in until I can't move my fingers. My jaw presses shut. The fluid is up to my eyes now, blurring, stinging. I can't breathe. I'm going to be born, I think. The other creature taps again. The sack around me tightens until I hear my spine creak. I wake up, coughing. Not like a normal cough, not that dry, tickly kind. This is deep, wet, like I'm trying to expel something alive from my lungs. Each heave brings a rush of hot, salty mucus up my throat, thick enough that I can barely breathe between fits. My whole body convulses with it. By the time I sit upright, I've already soaked the collar of my shirt. The phlegm pours from my mouth in strings, yellow-brown and glistening, webbing between my fingers as I try to wipe it away. I stumble to the bathroom, leaning over the sink, still coughing. One more spasm, something that pulls from the bottom of my lungs, and something solid comes up. It clicks against my teeth on its way out, small and sharp. I spit it into the basin without looking at it first, too busy gasping for air, gagging on the bitter aftertaste. Then I see it. A white lump, no bigger than a lentil. I squint. It's got that familiar waxy, calcified look. A tonsil stone, maybe? But then I look closer. There are roots. Tiny gnarled roots, like veins, but dry. almost claw-like. It's not a stone, it's a tooth, a real one, with a crown and roots like it had been planted inside me, like it grew there. I gripped the edge of the sink and stare at it for too long. The little tooth glistens in the basin, nestled in a puddle of mucus like a pearl in rot. The roots are thin, too long for something that should have come from my throat, but what else could it be? I let out a dry, incredulous laugh. A little sharp bark that echoes too loudly in the bathroom, that sends me into another coughing fit. "Nope," I whisper, shaking my head. "It's just a tonsil stone, has to be." Maybe some weird calcification. Something gross my body's been hiding and finally decided to cough up. The roots? They're not real roots, just casts, hard mucus. Weird buildup, that's all. I rinse the sink quickly, flushing the little tooth down the drain before I can think better of it. It clinks as it disappears. I try not to shudder. This is fine. My body's just freaking out. It's a bad infection. And I'm sleep deprived, hallucinating a little bit. The dream, the pressure, the sweating. Just my fever cooking my brain. Totally normal. Totally explainable. I splash water on my face. It feels hot and heavy. And in the mirror, just for a moment, my left eye ripples like a stone dropped in still water. I blink hard and lean closer. But everything's still again. I head into the kitchen and I try to eat a couple crackers, and I take the antibiotic with a half glass of water. The capsule stuck in my throat for a second too long, and I felt it pop as it went down, leaving a bitter chemical aftertaste that clung to the roof of my mouth. I waited for the relief I knew wouldn't come. Time passed in stretches, uneven. Every hour felt like it lasted 10 minutes, and every minute like it might split open and spill something terrible. The coughing got worse, wetter, deeper. Sometimes I felt it start in my stomach, like the mucus was building from below instead of above, like my organs were fermenting something inside of them. By early afternoon, the cramps started. They came in waves of low, deep pressure that knotted my gut and made me curl into myself. I tried to drink tea. I tried to eat bread. I even made soup. It was like trying to feed a dying machine. The smell of the broth made me gag. Every sip felt like I was pouring it into a stomach that didn't want to be mine anymore. It churned and twisted, and when the first real cramp hit, it was sharp, fast, violent. I barely made it to the sink. I threw up. But it wasn't food, it was mucus. Long, slimy ropes of it, pouring out of me like a pulled thread. I felt it tear from deep inside, thick and almost sweet-smelling, like decaying melon and something mineral. Some of it hung from my mouth, trailing from my lips to the drain, clinging like it didn't want to let go. I leaned on the sink, trembling, my face hot with fever, disgust, and shame. I looked into the drain and saw a bubble rise from the mucus, like something underneath had just exhaled. And then it popped. Screw this. I'm calling the doctor.